The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Hour number 3 of a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, Sirius XM Channel 158. It's Gill Alexander. That right there is Dustin Swedelson, everybody, in for the vacationing Kelly Midland. Dustin hanging out with us all week long. And thank you, Dustin, for doing so.
Oh, it's a fun time. I love being here. Other than the alarm going off in the morning, it's been fun.
Here's what usually happens here. Usually I will read tweets now, but our next guest objects to it when I read tweets.
Oh, he gets angry.
Cuts into his segment. Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Wishnev Wednesdays, the MegaPod, and Showtime's docu-series action. It's Todd Wishnev, everybody. From Pittsburgh,
it's my friend Stevie Fezzik Gilly Alexander who makes stuff up and then wants to pretend that it's true.
Making stuff up. Look who's wearing the Drake May jersey just to mock me and everything I stand for.
It's also because I need some luck because the other day I had the fever over 86.5. They had 71 after the third quarter. And because Caitlin Clark and some 2 other girls missed free throws in the last 3 minutes, I lost by a half a point. And that gets me very, very angry. I don't know if that's... By the way, girls basketball or ladies basketball shoots better free throws percentage than NBA.
Yes, they do.
You don't expect them to miss. And I'm still aching about that from 2 days ago.
You love betting the WNBA. By the way, Caitlin Clark with a great game last time out. You are not a huge fan of her game, though. Is that fair to say?
I'll say this. She's not the best player on her team. Okay, that's first of all. Kelsey Mitchell is better than her. Now, something else about her, she thinks she's the greatest player in the history of basketball. So she pulls up from 40 feet behind the line to make, and it's spectacular when they go in. But when they don't go in, it's called forcing shots, lady. I know you have the Allstate commercial, and I know you're a big superstar, but how about let the game come to you? You don't have to force everything, old Katie. My God, it's annoying.
Thanks for calling her a lady, though.
And then, how about making a free throw in the last 4 minutes?
Okay. Do you have any WNBA for us, or not today yet? You do it closer to game time? Yeah? I don't even know if they even played it yet.
Yeah, but probably closer to game. I haven't looked at it really yet tonight, but today. But, you know.
Can we start by asking, because Dustin and I are really interested in doing this. You watch more college basketball and bet more college basketball than anybody I know. Can we just get the
1,900 bets last year?
1,900 bets. So you know these players as well as anybody. And I've mentioned from time to time that you are not that high on AJ Debonsa. Is that true? And then what are your other reactions here?
Well, I used to rant and rave about how could Debonsa be the first pick in the draft. It's ridiculous. First of all, look at how he shoots. Now, maybe they'll fix it in the NBA. He doesn't have a nice stroke at all. I'm like, this guy's the number 1 pick? Come on, man. I see this is when these pro general manager, they get in love with the physicality of a guy and he doesn't shoot it well. You better shoot the basketball well. Okay. I don't want to hear about, his hand size is this. It's ridiculous. Okay. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player. He might be, but I don't think he deserved to be the number 1 pick. I'm sorry.
Well, and Todd, how about this? How much of his success, because he really came on later in the season, which, by the way, that's when Richie Saunders got hurt, are his stats more volume and the opportunity he had on a BYU team?
Success? Dustin, can I interrupt you rudely and say success? I don't remember the BYU team being very successful, Dustin.
Him.
Do you?
No, I'm talking about him and his success, not the team's success.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't part of being a great player you make your team great?
Sure.
I don't know why I'm talking to you like this.
I don't either.
I don't either. Like I'm your professor and you're a third grader because rude. I don't even know you and you seem like a nice guy. Yeah. But this is me just doing shtick.
Oh, by the way, Todd, Dustin, Todd. Yeah.
I think we've chatted briefly in passing before.
Okay.
What's your other reaction to some of the top 10 players beyond Debonsa? Who do you think went too low, too high, whatever?
I'm a little worried about Boozer. I think Boozer's going to be a solid player. I just don't think he's going to be the unbelievable number 3 pick in the draft kind of player that people want him to be when you pick a guy 3 in the draft. I think you're looking for like superstar, Sheba mega superstar, right? And I don't know that that's going to happen because surprisingly, I'm going to say something that I'm going to contradict myself. Physically, I just don't think he has it. You know, he plays too close to the ground for me. He's probably going to be like his dad, a very solid player. Who else? Keaton Wagler. Yeah. You know, Dustin's agreeing with me. Dustin, you agree with me?
Wagler's a tough one because he wasn't a top prospect, and he became this really good player at Illinois. Illinois had a bunch of veterans around him, had a bunch of older players, which made him look good. So I'm a bit concerned that Wagler may not be as good as the stats indicate. How about this, Todd? I'm going to ask you this way.
I'll agree with the last caller, Dustin.
If we're going not team-based, not needs, where would you put Acuff in terms of prospects in this draft?
Oh, so we were just talking off thing. I said, first of all, Mikel Brown Jr., come on, brother. Darius Acuff 7 to me is just surprise. This is what I'm talking about.
Surprisingly
low. The general
low?
managers get too low. They get too cool for school, and they probably come up with some reason. What's the reason why Darius Acuff's the number 7 pick in the draft? Probably, I don't know what. His hands aren't big enough.
He's
He
short.
goes out with too many girls. What's his problem?
He's 6'2", and this is on the heels of Jalen Brunson, who's also 6'2", winning a title.
Jalen Brunson, I believe, played well in the. Now, granted, you know, they shouldn't have won the title, and you know, whatever. Gilly should have won his money. Kingston Fleming's at number 8. What the hell is that? I don't even know Kingston Flemings. He's like one of those Houston guards. Pardon me.
Oh my God, you okay? Medic.
Still around. The Kingston Flemings at number 8. I mean, he's just like an interchangeable Houston guard. Am I missing something? And you know, the Arizona kid could be real good because I like the talent. And then you asked me about Yaxel Lendenborg, and Yaxel Lendenborg, I kind of like him. You know, I'm not sure, but I kind of like Yaxel Lendenborg. But here's somebody down a little bit that I just saw got picked up, who I think is going to be great. Zuby Ejiofor. Now you're going to tell me, well, you can't shoot the ball. You're going to tell me all kind of bad things about Zuby Ejiofor. But if Mitchell Robinson can play a big time, you know, on a finals team, there's definitely a place for Zuby Ejiofor, who has heart, who has guts, who has guile. He's the exact opposite of Gilly Alexander's tennis game. He's a guy you can put in there, and there's grit. You know, so I love Zuby Ejiofor down at 23.
Todd, the burning question that leaps to mind: how many scouting reports have you actually seen that say "quote bada bada bada" whatever you said earlier, unquote? How many of those that exist?
What did I say?
I don't know. When you were talking about
the blah blah blee blee blee.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those actually.
Okay. Baseball. We were talking in the previous segment about Martin Perez. Will and Dustin were, and they were talking about how much money or how frustrating it is. Either in your case, Dustin was betting against him.
Oh, he killed me. I'd bet against him. I'd fade him all the time, and he would have like a two-hit shutout, 6 innings, 1 earned.
You have that same experience with him?
He's exactly what happened to me, Dustin. I've gone against Martin Perez for years. I probably lost more money betting against Martin Perez than I just quit because I'm just like, okay, I can't beat this guy, you know. And then once in a while, I'll try. Hey, you know, I'll do something sneaky. I'll play on him. And then all of a sudden he gets blown up, you know. It's like there's certain guys like earlier this year, Colic for the Royals. You know, Colic for the Royals. Mm-hmm. He doesn't strike anybody out. I used to bet against him all the time. I'm like, this guy stinks. What is the deal? But he would Martin Perez me and give me give 2 runs on 6 innings and I get screwed or something. But yeah, I gave up on going against Martin Perez. I heard you talking about that Major League Baseball, who's going to make the playoffs thing. And I haven't really looked at the standings much, but it would be kind of interesting just to hear I don't know if you would be interested, but you might be interested in hearing.
It would be interesting to hear my 6. Okay, Todd, go ahead.
It's a good sell. It's a good sell.
Let's go ahead.
I think you guys would be thoroughly interested in hearing what I have to say off the cuff.
Sure.
Just like looking at it, first reaction on who makes it in the playoffs, right? That's what you guys were discussing?
That is correct. Because it is really hard in the American League.
Right. So in the American League, right? So we have, the Yankees are going to be in, right? We know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then is there anybody else really who's locked in?
No, nobody's locked
Maybe
in,
Tampa.
but most people would say Mariners
Tampa Bay,
probably
maybe?
second.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay because they banked the wins, maybe.
Yeah, they'll probably they can't screw. I mean they can, but
Here's the thing about Tampa Bay, though. They go in these swaths where they don't hit, and their bullpen is very shaky for a good team.
Lost a lot of one-run games this month. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a team that might sneak up on you. The Toronto Blue Jays might come creeping up behind you because all year their lineup was absolute dreck mit dreck. It was just absolutely horrendous. Wasn't the team from last year. All of a sudden, you look at the box score in the last week or so, you got a bunch of hitters in there. Where do they get all these guys from? Oh, that's all the guys coming back healthy. Fatso Kirk is back. Clement is back. Lucas is back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys back in this lineup, I think, and Toronto's bullpen's been sneaky okay.
Hey, Todd.
Toronto might sneak up on
Todd,
people.
don't bleed the clock. What are your 6? I know what you're doing.
I didn't know I had to come up with 6.
Well, you just said we'd be interested in it.
I know with thoughts. It was thoughts. Okay, I'll take Seattle. I'll take Tampa Bay. I'll take the Yankees. And now I have to come up with Toronto. I'll take 2 more. I don't want Cleveland. I'm going to go with...
See, this proves the point.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Athletics.
I
don't want the Athletics.
You got one more.
I don't want them, and I don't want Cleveland. By the way, Cleveland has no lineup now. Have you guys seen the lineup that Cleveland is throwing out there every day?
Take Ramirez
It's unbelievable.
It's nada. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it. Coming back, Nick Whalen on the NBA draft and more next. You're here because you want an edge. That's what separates listeners from winners. But let's be real, mindset alone doesn't get bets home. Pros win because they've got the tools, the data, and the discipline. And now so can you. VEASAN Pro gives you access to the same real-time insights the sharps use. No secrets, no fluff, just actionable info that moves markets. Tap the link and see why serious bettors are turning knowledge into profit with VEASAN Pro.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Look at it. It's beautiful. Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Caleb Williams on the cover of our VSiN NFL betting guide. Our pro guide includes 3 burning questions for all 32 teams. I like that little feature that Adam Burke came up with. Early best bets on props and futures. Predictions for 2026 playoff teams. $175 for full VEASAN Pro access through the Super Bowl. That means everything we do. $175. Get it now. VSiN.com/subscribe. We get tweets, beating the book. Always appreciate it. Best listeners of the game. RJ, King R. Jack O. Is Steve Phillips becoming the next George Hamilton? I knew somebody was going to make that call. Feels like it, by the way. George Hamilton, the actor, used to claim that he chewed on a reed from Africa to get as tan as he did. And then he'd go in the sun.
He did that.
That was his claim.
He did that while he sprayed himself with oil and went inside a tanning bed.
That's right. He left out a detail. Kevin Ryan, Gill, I can't be the only one. I hate soccer. What I wouldn't give right now for a segment of guessing college football lines with Kelly Bidlin. Hey, man, it's the World Cup. I hear you.
Yeah,
our football will be here soon.
I don't know if I can I don't know if I agree with that one. I'm normally the most anti-soccer person because I'm the most pro-America person. And I've long stated that soccer is just boys in short shorts and knee-high socks running around on a field. But I'm way into the World Cup this year.
World Be Free. Once again, not sure if it's that World Be Free. He says, I don't know how I feel about it. Gilly mispronouncing Qatar for Qatar. Every time he says it, I think of Gabe Kaplan. World Be Free. That's very American of you. Qatar is how Americans decide to pronounce Qatar, but Qatar is actually closer to the actual Arabic. Like Turkey, for instance, is closer to the actual Turkish for Turkey. Colin Murphy. So that's the key to picking up women in the gym. Hey there, nice tan. How could Bronze Phillips turn down that charm? I knew somebody was coming up with that. Ryan Hyatt, who has the more intriguing background, went on a numbers game with Gill. Either Todd and his Spartan hut-like wall, Cork Attic, I believe is the correct term, right? And or Drew Dinsick and his Zen Studio Aqua and Fauna Fest. Yeah. How about Paul Sporer's Dark Room? How about that one? Fred Courier. I like Paige better than I like Caitlin Clark. Talk about Paige Beckers, of course. Torch D, the one who put the satin in your panties. Wait, I thought the NBA draft was loaded. Sounded like a bunch of duds based on Wishnev's analytics. He watches more college hoops than everybody.
But I did find it. He's like, Kingston Fleming's getting drafted at 8. At some point, I want to say, Todd, they do have to draft whoever's available.
No.
They don't get to choose that if they're all lottery, like top 3 players.
But I do appreciate that he doesn't deal with the noise that happens in between the season and the draft itself. This is how I see it. Patrick Kelly, I've had a couple big job interviews recently. I'm not sure, but I'm glad I didn't break out the blah, 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 blah that Todd did as well. And Chance Copperpot says, Todd, why can't the White Sox make the playoffs? They sure can. Nick Whalen is the co-host of Prop Points, which follows us each and every morning, Monday through Friday. He does it with Jeff Erickson right here at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Nick, kind enough to join us now. You can follow him on Twitter at Whalen. Just substitute the L with the number 1. Nick, I know you've talked about this now for 48 hours? I can't even remember. When was the Giannis trade? 48 hours ago. But I'd feel more awkward not at least letting you say 20 seconds worth of it. You're okay with this. You've dealt with it. Everything's okay. You're a big Giannis guy and a big Bucks guy.
Everything's okay. I am a big Giannis guy. It's hard not to be when you're living in Milwaukee. I was here, of course, during the championship run in 2021, but I don't want to sit through another year like last year. That was brutal. And look, we've had plenty of time to prepare for this reality. These discussions have been out there since May of 2025. Ultimately, the Bucks didn't have a ton of leverage here. It was kind of just pitting the Celtics against the Miami Heat. I think they did pretty well in the trade. Tyler Hero as the headliner. Maybe that feels a little bit disappointing, but look, everything they brought back in that deal, the 3 first-rounders, the pick swap, they even got a second-rounder thrown in, and then the 4 players from Miami, all of that is tradable. It's not like you're just saddled with, all right, this is our team going forward. They could flip Tyler Hero. Jaime Jaquez has value. I'm intrigued to see what Yakachonis can turn into. Khalil Ware is already rumored to, be a target for the LA Lakers. So might feel a little bit underwhelming in the moment, but I think Milwaukee did pretty well.
Yeah, and the 2 draft picks, Ament, Burries, they come over. How do you feel about the way they did last night in the draft?
I think they did pretty well, honestly. I mean, I did not think Burries would be there at number 10. And that was number 1 on my wish list. And look, I think you got a guy who feels like he's a tier below some of the other guards who went in that 6 through 8 range. The Darius Acuffs, the Mikal Browns, even Kingston Flemings, just wasn't quite talked about with the same level of esteem. But I love the size. I love the defensive potential. I think a lot of those guys kind of feel like one-way players that went a little bit higher. And Burries, to me, gives you a foundational piece to try to build around. He's not Cam Boozer. He's not Darren Peterson. It's not AJ DeBonsa. But this is a Bucks roster, especially before they made the trade, that is just void of plus assets. Like it's just Ryan Rollins right now. And it still kind of remains to be seen how real last season was for him. So getting someone like Burries, I thought was great. And then once you're able to lock him in, you can take a shot on a player like Nate Amon. Not the biggest fan. I'm not, super confident that pick is going to pan out, but that's what you live with at the 13th pick.
Was there anything in the draft last night? By the way, round 2 begins tonight. This was just the first round. Mm-hmm. I really wonder what the ratings are on round 2 of the NBA draft. I'm curious. But was there anything that happened last night that in I don't know if it triggered a bet for you, but in any way like sort of led you closer to one, whether that's in any futures, whether that's just an opinion on a team, whether that's NBA Rookie of the Year, anything?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Rookie of the Year market, which is now out there, and this was not a surprise by any means, but I think Cam Boozer at plus 280 to me has to be the best value on the board. I mean, you have the perfect mix of stat potential, opportunity. I mean, he's the only guy, and this is a rare occurrence, who went in the top 5, who will likely be his team's number 1 option from day one. And, I think you could look at DeBonsa and say, is he the number 3 option, at least to start the year in Washington with Trae Young and Anthony Davis? Darren Peterson went to a really fun situation in Utah, a team that should be a lot better next season than they have been, but they have Lauri Markkanen. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. They have Keontae George coming off of almost 24 points per game last year. So, those guys are in better basketball situations. Winning, it matters for Rookie of the Year, but not always. I think Cam Boozer, to me, is the guy I feel has the safest chance to put up Rookie of the Year caliber numbers. And look, if the numbers are good enough, people aren't going to care that the Grizzlies win 22 games.
What do you think of what the Thunder did? They trade Wiggins early in the week to Atlanta, then 2 picks yesterday, and I feel like both are at the very least going to be super productive NBA players. First today, Mara, the big out of Michigan there, a body to go up against Wembanyama to pair with Hartenstein. And then they take the point guard, Bennett Sturts out of Iowa, who's a bucket, who makes everyone better, was an absolute dog for the Hawkeyes. What do you think of those 2 additions?
Yeah, I mean, Mara wasn't too much of a surprise. That's something that's been rumored for a while, but it almost felt like, okay, are we just mocking him there because he's 7'4" and because we know they have to get through Victor Wembanyama? It's like, does this make almost too much sense on paper? And then OKC leaned into it with their first pick of the night. So that one to me was not overly surprising. I think the bigger wrinkle is, okay, what does this mean for Isaiah Hartenstein going forward? OKC has already had to make some of those difficult roster decisions where they're almost too loaded. I think that's kind of why we saw what happened with Aaron Wiggins last week. The Sturts pick to me, Dustin, is just classic. Because it's OKC, we just assume it's going to work out. We went through this with the San Antonio Spurs for like 15 years. Whoever they took in the first round, in the second round, you're just groaning and thinking, oh my God, how do we let him go to the Spurs? I think I saw that same reaction last night for Bennett Sturts to OKC. But to me, it's a recognition that this OKC team needs some alternative options outside of SGA in terms of ball handling. Obviously, AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams were supposed to be that in the playoffs, but I think they're preparing to lose Cason Wallace, whether they trade him this offseason or whether it happens after next season. And I think they really like what they got out of Jared McCain, being that spark plug.
Oh, I think we lost Nick.
He was going.
Yeah.
He was going. You felt it.
He felt it.
There was warning there.
I was going to ask him if a player was going to break out in the second half of the first round, who would be his pick? Would it be LeBaron Philon to the Sixers? Would it be Caravan with the Cavs?
Philon's a good one to bring up because here's the thing about Philon. It's Jared McCain who you traded. It's a very similar player.
I'll say it for the 10th time. How do you let him go? How do you let him go?
How does Daryl Morey have a job still?
Daryl Morey, what do you let Jared McCain go for a song?
He's a Ponzi schemer.
Who is?
Daryl Morey.
Ponzi schemer?
Hides behind the numbers. It never really works out. Well, he's kind of Kenny Atkinson. Analytically, we're champions.
Cavs are still playing games, by the way. Nick, what can we expect on prop points? We got Nick back. What can we expect on prop points top of the hour?
Well, guys, we will be spending a ton of time on the NBA draft to begin the show. I'm forcing my hand a little bit here. We're going to go full draft recap. We have a soccer guest because, look, I heard you guys talking about it before I jumped on. I'm also not a soccer guy. I'm catching a little bit of World Cup fever, but we got a soccer guest. We'll be talking plenty of baseball. Jeff Erickson giving out all of his plays for a loaded Wednesday in MLB. So, yeah, check us out in about 35 minutes.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We all will be tuned in. Thank you, sir. Nick Whalen, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
At Whalen, number 1 instead of the letter L. That's how you can find him on Twitter. By the way, I got to say this, man. I'm all about just making the money. And with soccer and the draws, hey, man, the draft is what it is. Different betting vehicles. I'm all about it. Do I love soccer? No, but I'm making money. So, hey, you say there's a chance to make money? I'll watch. Coming back, Major League Baseball, AL/NL rookies.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Thank you, Brent Musburger, Gill Alexander, Dustin Swedelson in for Kelly Bidlin. It's not his actual name. His actual name is Dustin Swedelson, not Dustin Swedelson in for Kelly Bidlin. Dustin, you've been a sweeper of sorts. You're on all kinds of shows all summer long, yeah?
Yeah, it's summer sweet, I'll call it. I get to bounce around, get to hang out with different hosts, different day parts. I'm enjoying it. It's something new every week where I get to do something different before I go back into my cave in the late nights here.
Who is your least fit? No, stop. Okay, by the way, you love, not saying anything to you, but Dustin is a big baseball guy. We haven't had a chance to hear your plays for today. What did you end up with?
All right, so right now we're in the first inning in Miami, and we're not off to a good start for the bet. But Yuri Perez taking on Jacob deGrom. I actually considered a Jacob deGrom under strikeouts because I don't love him on the road this year specifically. And then the K numbers have been down. He has 1 strikeout through 1, but I went Yuri Perez over 4.5 Ks. Accidentally entered it on the website, 5.5 Ks. So he better get me 6. So far, an inning and a third. He doesn't have any, but I do think second time through the order against the Texas lineup, that's not really scary. I do think he can get there and get us 6 strikeouts in this game. Would like one, though, at least here in the second, to feel better about that play. bunch of strikeout props. So what I like to do, Gill, is chase some of these plus numbers. So sometimes I'll bump it up because the way they juiced, for example, Ranger Suarez today in Colorado, it was over 4.5 at minus 157. I'm not going to lay 157 on a player prop like that. I took him to 5.5 at plus $1.23 in a matchup against the Rockies. They are 25th in strikeout rate. They have the 6th most strikeouts this year against lefties. And he has a good track record against Colorado. Last year, one start against them, it was in Colorado. He had 6. 2024, he had 9 and 8 in the 2 matchups against the Rockies. This lineup might be worse than the last couple of years as well. And I think they're swinging and missing a ton. I like Suarez, who may be on the hook and have to stay in the game a little bit longer. If he can give us 5 innings, I think we can get 6 strikeouts in this spot. And at plus 123, I like the risk.
Okay. Anything else? Or those?
Oh, there's a million.
There's a million.
There's always a million.
There's
always a million.
Well, let's do one more. How about that?
Let's do one that's about to get started at Citi Field. And it's the million. It's the first of a doubleheader between the Mets and the Cubbies. Nolan McLean on the bump against Javier Assad. Now, the Mets are minus 121. You can back that if you want. I don't really want to back the Mets offense is the problem. I'd rather isolate McLean. The K prop at 5.5. It's heavily juiced at minus 148. I don't want to touch that, although I do think this could be a 6, 7, 8 strikeout game for him. Instead, give me, and by the way, he had 11 against the Cubs last year when he faced them. Give me the over 17.5 outs recorded. I just really like him against this Cubs lineup on the road at Citi Field to give us 6. Give us 6 strong. In a game where Manaea's pitching next, I think the Mets might stretch McLean out a little bit longer, even if he somehow doesn't have his best stuff today, to save the bullpen for the second game of the doubleheader. And I think the plan is McLean go as deep as possible, and I think he can at least give you 6 in this spot against Chicago.
Okay. We talked about, obviously, ad nauseum this morning about NBA Rookie of the Year. Not ad nauseum, but we talked about it enough. We want to give equal time to baseball, American League and National League Rookie of the Year odds, because we don't talk about these that often. Jason Weingarten used to talk about it all the time when he was on the show. American League, let's start there, Dustin. Kevin McConaughey of the Tigers is the favorite, minus 180 as we round the halfway mark of the Major League Baseball season. Munetaka Murakami of the White Sox, plus 550. Travis Bazzana of the Cleveland Guardians. By the way, Parker Messick of the Cleveland Guardians are 3rd and 4th, plus 850 and 15-1 respectively. Now, before we even get the thoughts on this, because I'm curious what you're thinking about, I mentioned with NBA Rookie of the Year that it doesn't matter what the record is. In fact, if you go back 10, 20 years, it's sub 500 records for eventual Rookies of the Year. Makes sense because you're playing on worse basketball teams in general. Record doesn't matter. In Major League Baseball, I sort of did the same exercise this morning. I went back 10 years for both American League and National League. It actually, I was a little surprised by this. It's more on winning teams than I would have thought. I thought, hey, Rookie of the Year doesn't really matter in baseball either. It kind of does. Let's just do the American League real quick. Nick Kurtz did win it for the Athletics. They only had 69 wins last year. But here are the winners before that. Luis Gil of the Yankees, 94 wins. Gunnar Henderson of the O's, 101 wins. Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners, 90 wins. Randy Arozarena of the Rays, 100 wins. Then it was Kyle Lewis of the Mariners. I don't even remember that.
Was that 2020, though?
The pandemic year.
Yeah.
Right, so that doesn't count. Yordan Alvarez, 107 wins with the Astros. Shohei, well, he was Shohei, 80 wins. Judge, 91 wins. Michael Fulmer of the Tigers, 86 wins. So it's like great teams in the last 10 years in the American League. National League, not quite as good, but it's Drake Baldwin, 88 wins. Skeens, 76. Well, he was Skeens. Corbin Carroll, Diamondbacks, 84 wins. Michael Harris, 101 wins with the Braves. Jonathan India was 83 wins. Skip the pandemic year. 86 wins, 90 wins, 104 wins, 91 wins when you go Alonso, Acuna Jr., Bellinger, and Seager. So it's very different from basketball. I really was kind of surprised by this. I thought it was going to be the same. Like, it doesn't really matter. It kind of feels like it does.
Well, you know what I think kind of correlates with that? There probably are rookies, like Michael Fulmer jumps out to me, and some of these, that they're on a team that's good. Their production is highlighted because they're good, but more importantly, the pressure on them to be so great isn't there, and they're overshadowed by these other guys so they can perform well, while some of these other rookies on bad teams, the expectation might make it harder for them to match the numbers people want for them to be the Rookie of the Year.
The other thing that you might have caught in there is that in the last decade, in both the American League and the National League, respectively, only 2 pitchers, only 2 starting pitchers.
Yes, I did that at the beginning of the year. I did this very dumb segment called the Core 4, where I placed 4 bets in every single market.
I thought it was brilliant.
Well, I can tell you this, my bank account was like, what are you doing right now? How about maybe 4, like, for rookie of the year total, not in each league? So I did do that.
Okay, so McConaughey, who's the favorite, let's go to the American League. McConaughey, who's the favorite here. I actually drafted him in our futures draft that you no, that was a Nick Whalen. You did the NFL draft.
Yes.
You were great at the NFL, so was Nick doing baseball. I picked McConaughey in that. I did not bet him in real life, though. Who are you looking at here?
Well, look, I think McConaughey is very worthy of being minus $1.80, and I think that he made his jump here in this market as the odds-on favorite when Murakami got hurt. And I think Murakami, if he returns, in the next couple weeks from injury with the home run numbers, but also the storyline of Chicago. If the White Sox are making the playoffs and the Tigers somehow miss here, which according to the standings now, that's where it's going, even though I don't project it to be that way, Murakami, I think, does jump back up as your favorite in this market. I mean, he might hit 40 home runs still. He has 20 now.
He's got 20,
and he's injured. We still have a lot of season left here. Murakami, I still think, is worth a look at 5.5 to 1. I know pitchers, it's so hard to win, but Parker Messick might strike out 200 hitters as a rookie with a sub-3 ERA. Feel like the discussion should probably be larger, but the guy that I love, and I bet him at 20 to 1, he's currently 22 to 1, is Kazuma Okamoto, the Japanese third baseman for the Blue Jays. He has 17 home runs and 50 ribbies, a 241 average, obviously not sexy, but a 790 OPS, absolutely respectable. And again, I think the counting stats matter. I think sometimes we overestimate how much the voters care about the analytics and some of the WAR numbers and whatnot. But I think Okamoto, a guy who can hit, if he hits 35 home runs, and that's the best among rookies, I think it's going to be very hard to not want to give him the award.
Let me just give the McConaughey versus Murakami mano a mano here.
Yes.
McConaughey, his slash, 281 batting average, 388 OBP, 425 slugging with a 4.1 WAR. All of that impressive for a rookie, especially that WAR, in case voters care about that. So is the 388 OBP. But as you mentioned, Murakami, 20 homers, a 560 slugging percentage, and a 938 OPS. National League. This is also interesting. Weatherholt is your favorite. Weatherholt right now with 12 homers for the St. Louis Cardinals. His slash is really good. 267, 366, 421 slugging, and a 3.6 WAR for J.J. Weatherholt of the Cardinals, who's minus 155. Not quite as big of a favorite as McConaughey is in the American League. The other 2 guys who are in single digits, Sal Stewart of the Reds, who, for those of us who bet the Reds March, April, he was just a absolute dog March, April. Sal Stewart, 14 homers, 54 ribbies. His bugaboo, though, is that he has 73 Ks, and that keeps his batting average and his OBP down, 246 and 337. And then there's Bryce Elridge of the Giants, who this might be a little premature because he hasn't played all season. He was a late call-up. The Giants are hoping for the best for Bryce Elridge. He is their future. But, the best for him is the 291, 385, 504 slash lines, batting average, OBP, and slugging because the counting stats won't be there for him. Who do you like?
Okay, so I have Will Hill said he had a fetish for the Pirates. I have a fetish for Connor Griffin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know he's injured. I know maybe, according to some people, he may not be as good as they thought he was going to be. But go look at the stats. If this is the low end for Connor Griffin and he's 30 to 1, I still think there's a world where he comes back from injury. And as long as he can produce, he's got 4 homers and he's got 14 steals. If he hits 10, 12 homers and has 30 plus steals, I just think those numbers jump off the page. I'm going to knock Sal Stewart because he got off to a hot start and he has not been as good since. The power numbers are way down the last couple of months.
Yep.
I think Benj at 15 to 1 makes sense. Look up what Foster Griffin is doing at 65 to 1, the pitcher for the Nationals. He has been a revelation. That number just seems a little bit too long to me.
I don't hate your Connor Griffin, though, at that number, 30 to 1, because I don't think anybody's really running away with this at this point, nor are they in the American League, by the way. We'll come back. We'll recap the bets. I got a bone to pick with the VSiN picks page. Next on A Numbers Game.
A Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
I'll tell you what I think I was absolutely wrong about yesterday was I was talking about the Giannis trade. and how I thought the Jaylen Brown thing might be overblown. Like, they could probably mend fences on this. After all, you're being dangled out there for Giannis. Not like, it's one of the all-time greats. How affected can your ego be at that point? All sort of chatter behind the scenes. There ain't no way Jaylen Brown's staying with the Celtics.
Oh, no, it's over. He's been hinting at that with the Twitch streams and all the comments. This year was my most favorite year I've ever played.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Because you got the ball the most.
Yeah,
not the year you won the championship. By the way, there are prediction markets with Jaylen Brown's next team up. The favorite is he stays with Boston. I don't see that. I don't.
What's next?
That.
What's after Boston? Because I was going through last night, hearing this chatter. I was like, "What is?" You know how people say, "What's a good fit?" It is really difficult coming up with what's a good fit for Jaylen Brown.
Well, he's a conundrum. One, I'll give the positives. Good defender, offensive game has evolved, can shoot better than he can earlier in his career. Like he's a good offensive player. He can't dribble with his left hand. I don't know what we're talking about with him sometimes.
It's like Metropolitan Basketball School at St. John's in D.C. Could just fade him to the left.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not a one. He's not a one. He's probably a two.
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
And the number 2 team, by the way, is Cleveland, and I think that's due to a report from I saw earlier today, Chris Mannix of SI saying that Boston's interested in a swap of Jaylen Brown for Evan Mobley. Now, here's where I'll go positive. If Jaylen Brown is the 3 with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, it's quite a combination of characters with Harden and Brown there and the disgruntledness potential. But in terms of talent, I love that combination of 2 guards and a wing.
I like this tweet from iHeart SEC podcast. I see you. He says, George Mirajan and Rod Strickland, my fondest Washington basketball memories, LOL. Craig Kilborn, one of his great sound bites or whatever you call those crutches that he used to use on SportsCenter. That's just George being George. It's one of his favorite. Jumanji, not to be outdone by, he's not your Vetus. He's not my Vetus. He's our Vetus.
That's number one.
That's number one.
That's number one. And you mentioned it yesterday, watching athletes whose kids end up playing. That's another example of Domantas Sabonis enters the league.
That's
I'm like,
right.
Man, I'm old.
I saw his dad play. Okay. Real quick before we get to recap the bets here, I mentioned before the break, I have a bone to pick with the VSiN.com picks page.
Pick it.
Now, let me just say this. Dustin, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I do not care, right, to look at standings of these kinds of things. I don't. It doesn't matter to me where I am compared to others in this little exercise.
That's where we're different.
Well, no. But there's something coming after the comma. However, well, it's actually a period. However, if you are going to put up a standings, right, then I do care, right? Because, well, then it's like you're keeping score. So if you're keeping score, let's have an even playing field here. I am sitting here and going to tell you for the 10th time that the VSiN Picks page is culturally biased towards golf.
It's my favorite phrase.
Culturally biased towards golf. By the way, there's a gentleman, I'm sure he's a lovely man, but he's 1-11 and he's ahead of most of us, right? Because he happened to have Wyndham Clark. So I'm saying good on him. He had Wyndham Clark to win the golf tournament, but golf futures still make the top experts page. Whereas if you have a tennis futures, it's beyond the 7 days. It doesn't end up in there.
Right? All right, I'm spitball. Yeah, keep going.
No.
You're triggering an idea now.
So the golf futures stays on there because it happened, right? Whereas the tennis future play was put in over a week ago, whereas a golf play is put in only 4 days ago. So the golf futures show up, whereas the tennis ones or other sports don't. So that's the first thing. And you can go 1-11 golf, and then that's the other thing that I have. What are we doing? Are we doing this on win-loss? Are we doing this on ROI? Are we doing this on percentage? We have to, as a viewer of these standings, I have to understand, me representing everybody has to understand, what are we basing this on? So again, I don't care to have a standings, but if we're going to have a standings, let's be democratic about this
and consistent.
Thank you.
You just triggered something as well. And Jason Lattis, who's in charge of the data, is going to hate me for throwing this idea out there because it feels like a lot of work. But when it's not you doing the work, you're like, this is a great idea. Someone should do this.
Yeah.
What golf separate section?
Okay.
This is where the golf leaderboard is. I think it'd be really cool too, especially for football specifically, where there's so many different ways to bet. if there was this, these are the records on sides, these are the records on totals, these are the records and ROI on player props. If we differentiated to see how everyone handles each individual thing.
I don't mind that so much, but we got to pick a lane. Which is it that we're going with?
It's either got to be win-loss, it's got to be profit, it's got to be ROI percent. We got to choose one of them. That is the way that we order it.
Because right now it appears to be none of them. It just appears to be randomized. There does seem to be some waiting for volume. Right? So that's the only thing that I'm getting is that if you only have a certain amount of picks, let's say I've had 22, right? I'm only going to get to a certain point because we hit Zach, Wes, Jensen. They have over 100 picks in the last 6-7 days. So they're always going to be top 3 because they're sheer volume.
Yes.
Even if the record isn't I just want clarification.
Yeah.
All right.
I get it.
This is a shot at no one. I just want a democratized picks page.
Consistency.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had my rant.
But the golf people should be separate. I agree with that.
It's just a shot at the end right there.
They should have their own island, their own section. Stay away from the rest of us day in and day out bettors.
Golf Island. Tennis was a winner overnight. McCartney Kessler gets it done in straight sets against Angelina Kalinina. If your last name was Kalinina, would you name your daughter Angelina? Got a cool name like that? Angelina Kalinina. I love that.
Well, the other person has 2 last names.
Yeah, she does. She sure does. But anyway, it's a winner for us. That's 7 out of our last 8. Grass has been great. We'll see if we can keep it going through Wimbledon. Wimbledon was great last year and started a great span for the rest of the calendar year. Well, maybe we got a head start on it this year with only February and March really being the bugaboo. I do have one play in the World Cup here in the morning of the 2 concurrent games in Group B. I, too, am playing the draw in the Canada-Switzerland match. You're not going to get nearly as good of a draw price as you would have in games 1 or 2 because everybody knows what the implications are and how both teams wouldn't really care that much if they ended up in a draw. So you're not going to get a $3 draw here. You're going to get just north of a $2 draw plus 207. So not nearly as sexy as previous draws, but I'm still on it. You, sir.
Okay, so last night the draft was bad. The baseball was very good. I believe it was a 6-1 night, 5-1 night with the baseball, something like that.
Nice.
So baseball went well. Today we are going to push the limits and see what we can do. Right now we're sweating out Yuri Perez over 4.5 strikeouts. That's not going to get home 3 innings, and he does not have a single one against the Rangers. So that's fine. You know why? We still have 2 plus money K props later on. And I prefer to hit the plus money ones of the options on the board. Ranger Suarez in Colorado. I like him over 5.5 Ks plus $1.23. That number, I think, he a little bit better than I got last night, currently in the market. Tanner Bybee against the White Sox. He's not as great on the road, but I thought 5.5 was a little bit low for him against a Chicago team that swings and misses a ton. 3rd highest K rate in baseball. White Sox, against the White Sox, he had 10, 7, and 5 last year. Messick had 10 on Tuesday. Gavin Williams had 8 on Monday against this lineup. I like him over 5.5 Ks at plus $1.15. We're also on Nolan McLean over 17.5 outs recorded against the Cubs. I just think the Mets, from a strategy standpoint, need to push him to save the bullpen because I don't trust Sean Manaea starting the second game of a doubleheader. I'm also going to do something I hate doing, which is backing Martin Perez, who I'm always wrong about, at San Diego. The Padres, first of all, it's the motivation for Atlanta to avoid a sweep here, right? They lost the first 2 games of the series. San Diego on the year, which is weird with Tatis and Machado, 29th in OPS against lefties. On the other side, it's JP Sears pitching, and Atlanta 9th in OPS against lefties. I think the offense leads them to a victory. I'm also going to take the Athletics at the Giants. I think Gage Jump has a pretty live arm, this lefty, for the A's. And Tyler Mahle, first game off the IL in a while. He got knocked around in late May before he got injured. I think that continues against this A's offense here. So I think the A's get it done in San Francisco. Then finally, Phillies Nats over. That was a rocking chair last night for us. We're going to go back to it again because it is Miles Mikolas and Aaron Nola. Nola has horrible numbers against the Nats. Washington hitters 287 average against him, 8.56 ERA in 3 starts against them last year. And then Mikolas is just someone I like to fade every time out.
You got soccer today, too.
Oh, yeah. Morocco, Haiti, we're going to over 3.5. Morocco needs to put it on them. I think they do that in order to win their group. Czechia, Mexico, let's go over 2.5 goals in that one. I think that's under, actually. That should be under 2.5 goals. I believe in that one. And then Brazil, minus 1.5 against Scotland. Again, I think that they take care of business. They need it. They will wind up dominating that game.
Dustin firing. Will Hill, best bets, Nats, Phillies over 9.5, Mariners, Pirates under 8, and the Padres plus 105 versus the Braves from Wilson Hilson today on the show. By the way, tennis plays for subscribers once again on the overnight, vsin.com/picks. Chris Felica, Bosnia-Herzegovina versus Qatar. Bosnia shots over 15.5 here in the early game. Scotland, Brazil, both teams have scored no. Second wave, Switzerland, Canada draw plus 210. Czechia, Mexico under 2.5. And then Group A games at night, Morocco, Haiti, Morocco over 2.5 goals, and South Africa, South Korea. South Korea giving up a goal and a half. We've done all we can do. Prop Points is next. Enjoy from VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.